ربي بالأسماء الحسنى جد بفتوحاتك وارحم.
Also among the names of Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Awwal. When referring to Allah, Al-Awwal means the eternal, and the eternal here is the one whose existence is without a beginning. Everything other than Allah Ta'ala is created by Allah Azza wa Jal, so its existence was preceded by non-existence. Like we now exist, however hundreds of years ago none of us was existent. So our existence was preceded by the state of non-existence, but only Allah Ta'ala is the one whose existence is not preceded by non-existence. The Kursi and the Arsh had a beginning, the skies had a beginning, the earth had a beginning, and they are all created by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Darkness is created by Allah, light is created by Allah. At a point in time, there was no darkness and there was no light. Allah Ta'ala first created water that is underneath the Arsh, then He created the Arsh. At that time, there was no darkness and there was no light. Allah Ta'ala created after that darkness and light. Allah Ta'ala said, وَجَعَلَ الظُّلُمَاتِ وَالنُّورِ. If you were to imagine a time where there was no darkness and no light, you will not be able to do so. Your mind cannot encompass or comprehend or contain this fact. Although these are creations, darkness and light are creations of Allah Ta'ala. So there was a time where there was no darkness and no light. We can imagine this place dark, and we can imagine this place enlightened. But can you imagine it with no light and no darkness? No, you can't, because we are familiar with darkness as we are familiar with light, but no darkness and no light, we cannot comprehend that, although we believe in it. But our minds cannot contain and encompass this fact. That is why the scholars say that one's mind cannot encompass the reality of Allah Azza wa Jal, because if one is unable to encompass something that is a creation, that at a point in time there was no darkness and no light, and he cannot encompass this by his mind, how can he encompass the reality of Allah? This is why the scholars of Islam said, no one knows the reality of Allah Azza wa Jal except Allah. But what we know about Allah Ta'ala is the attributes of Allah, the names of Allah.